Everybody, I'm Joathen here,
And I'm Gracie.
and you're watching Steel Streams. And today we are going to be doing a replay of Kerbal Space Program.
Woo!
And we're starting a new career mode here. Gracie has not played before. I've played for a bit off and on. And so we're just going to, have some fun, build some rockets, blow some stuff up,
Ooh.
and see where we can go. So we're just starting off here on career mode, and this is the Kerbal Space Center. And we have the vehicle assembly building, where we can build rockets and such. The space plane hangar, where we can build planes and space shuttles. This is our astronaut complex, where we train little green Kerbals to blast off into the unknown. And the administration building, where we do a bunch of boring paperwork. And research and development, where we design new ways to blow up our Kerbals. Over here's a tracking station, where we track things. And that's mission control over that way. We can get some missions and quests and such, which we're going to go ahead and start off by doing now. We're going to grab a maximum of 2 until we upgrade this building. So we're going to get scientific research and launch our first vessel. And so we have those, and we can accomplish those, and they will reward us funds, money, and science, which we can spend at the Research and Development Center to unlock new parts. So we have 2 different options of launching. We have the launch pad, where we can launch vertical rockets, as well as the runway, where we can launch planes and such off of a runway. So I'm going to let you go ahead and take it from there. And first thing we should probably do is build some kind of vertical rocket, because the parts we start off with aren't conducive to planes and such.
Okay.
So this is your vehicle assembly building, and this is Wernher von Kerman, who's our chief rocketry engineer. And so these are all the different types of parts we have.
Mm-hmm.
And you start off by building what's called a root part, and that's the part where everything else stems and attaches to. It's very much like Legos. It's pretty easy. So usually you have a pod, fuel tanks, engines, command and control, structural, coupling, payload, aerodynamics, ground, thermal, electrical, communications, science, and utility. This is after, I believe it's 1.12, so that's why there's a little bit more of these than there used to be. So it's kind of more specific, makes it a little bit easier to track parts down, but it looks kind of scary at first. So you start off with your pod, and that's where your rocket is controlled from. So we only have one, that's the MK1. So it adds that. It just plops it down there and kind of floats through the air. Your rocket doesn't have to be touching the ground in this menu. When you go to launch it, it'll be standing from wherever the bottom of your construction is. So it's got your little flag there, and you can kind of just look through the parts that we have and attach other stuff. So yeah, I'll let you go ahead and build your first construction rocket project.
Okay. Now fuel. The engine. So we're probably going to need an engine to get off the ground.
Yeah, and because we don't have access to fuel tanks yet, that right there is called a solid rocket booster.
Mm-hmm.
So it uses like a solid oxygen and
it's a trash bin full of boom.
Yeah, pretty much is the way they describe it. It uses a solid fuel, so you don't need oxidizer and liquid fuel, or rocket fuel even. So it's kind of like a 1-part off deal.
Mm-hmm.
Once you start getting into more complex rockets, you have to add fuel tanks and then separate actual engines to ignite.
Slightly less unstable. Okay. What's this bad boy? That's a parachute.
And I'll make it so you can land your rocket safely after shooting it into the sky.
Okay. Probably add one of these bad boys here. Science. Goo containment unit. What's the... Would I need this? I guess not for a basic
It
rocket,
does allow
right?
you to observe mystery goo as a science experiment.
Mm-hmm.
So what that will do is it'll give you extra science, and it gives you a different result depending on where you inspect the goo at, whether you're flying, whether you're in water, on a landing pad even. So because when you're building a rocket, one of the most important things is symmetry, and that's so your rocket isn't weighted all to one side. It doesn't fly up and then tilt one way and crash disastrously.
So I should put one on each side, right?
Either that, or a lot of times I'll put just two on two of the sides.
Yeah.
Just so they're balanced out weight wise.
Okay.
And the easy way to do that, and you can just click. You shouldn't have to drag.
Yeah.
You have, I believe it's X, and that will make it so this little button down here in the bottom left corner has two, so it's symmetrical. It'll put one on each side.
Okay.
But then if you want to have it perfectly lined up and it's not so freeform, you can hit C, and that makes it so it's more of a gradient selection point. So usually I try and use the two white strips on the command module as a kind of a marker.
Okay. Up there. And then it's going to need some wings. Or I guess a fin.
And fins I usually always do in 3 or more.
3?
Yeah, so if you hit X again,
okay,
it'll make it so you have 3 of the parts, and you can kind of just place it from there.
Now, I don't...
If you hold the right mouse button, you can rotate the camera.
Okay, that's what I was wondering. I'm just trying to look. Because I think... No, because that puts it all kind of a lot of weight on one side. Would it... Because it makes sense for the fins to be towards the back, but they also give me the option to put them up front, but that wouldn't work.
Yeah, generally speaking, you want them more towards the your initial point of thrust.
Yeah. So right up there.
What you can do actually is grab the science tanks, the goo tanks.
Okay.
And if you turn the camera again a little bit sideways, if you grab them and put them actually on that white strip, right on that black line on there.
Oh, okay, okay.
And it actually hit, yeah, X a couple more times.
4. Ooh. So many.
Yeah, eventually you can get to what's called asparagus staging, and that's where you can put a bunch of rockets around in a spiral pattern like that. And as you lift up, different ones, once they become used, start splitting off.
Oops. Okay. Does that look about right? I feel like these bad boys.
Yeah, I would lower the camera again.
Okay.
If you grab the fins now and you line one of them up with this white strip, it will put the other two at kind of a...
Why? Oh, there we go.
And now we'll put them at a symmetrical angle, more or less, with the goo.
Okay.
The goo.
So how does that look?
That looks pretty good for a starting rocket. I mean, considering the limited parts they give you.
Yeah.
So next you're going to want to pick a crew for this.
Okay.
And, yep, that button right there.
Jebediah Kerman.
And so here's where things get a little difficult.
Okay.
If you use a pilot, you can use what's called a stability assistance. And that makes it so that when you point in a direction, you stay going generally in that direction. You're still affected by gravity and still affected by physics, but it's a lot more sure. It doesn't wiggle as much. It doesn't fly around. But if you're collecting science, if you have a scientist on board, you get additional sciences for performing every action. So it's depending on what you want to do. You also have engineering. So like I was saying, you have pilots and scientists and all that good stuff. and engineers, which aren't so important now, but later can do stuff like repacking a parachute, and I don't really know what else they do.
Yeah.
So, um, since this is a pretty simple rocket, and your furniture is just going to be going straight up and then back down, you can probably use a scientist and try and get some extra science points out of the goo containers, and you just kind of drag them over and replace them. And then you can either name your little craft if you want to, put the top there, or you can just leave it as an untitled spacecraft.
Keep doing that. Why won't it let me?
There you go.
I'm gonna name it after my first dog, Peanut.
And then the green button over there. Actually, before we do that, over in the bottom right corner, you have what's called staging, and this is because rockets work in stages. And this one right there, you want to press plus, because you don't want your parachute and your engine to go off at the same time.
Okay.
So then you want to drag. You want the parachute at the top, actually.
Oh. Okay.
The higher number stage, the more the earlier it will go off. So in this case, now your engine will go off, and then you press spacebar again to activate stage 0, which is your parachute.
Okay.
So you want to go ahead and hit the green button to launch, and it'll take us over to the launch pad. And this is the launch pad and launch menu. So here you have your little Kerbal, and your spaceship, and the sky, and the ground, and the big burn mark. And this right here is your current height. So technically, because we're a little bit above sea level, it's 69 meters. The ocean's somewhere in that direction. So before we actually do anything, you want to right-click your command pod, and you can do a little bit of science. You can do that by observing one of the mystery goos, and that will observe it at the landing pad, or launch pad, and give us 6 points. And so you want to hit the green button there. And what you can do later on once you get antennas is you can actually transmit the science. That way you can reuse some of the observational materials. So if you actually right-click your actual command pod there, you can do what's called a crew report, all the way at the bottom there. And they just, figure out what's what. It's their assessment of the situation. So you hit the green button again there. And now if you go over to a little picture of Bob Kerman in the corner, you can hit what's called EVA. Okay, and it puts him out on the spacecraft. And if you right-click on himself, you can do a EVA report. And kind of just like, he walks around and gets a what's what. And you, of course, can hit the green button to save that report. And then you're going to want to hit B to reboard the vessel. Okay, so it's about all the science we can get out on the surface here so far. So we're going to go up into the sky and observe the other mystery goo. So what will probably help, because this is going to be a straight up for the most part, is if you right-click the other mystery goo, just so that you have the observe option already open there, and you're not trying to click the spacecraft while it's flying. So if you hit spacebar, you will launch. And you control with WASD to kind of tilt it. And over in the bottom left, it shows your fuel. And because it's just a little solid rocket booster, it runs out relatively quickly. And so we're not going to want to activate our parachute just yet, so we can observe our mystery goo. And jiggles and wobbles. We'll wobble and jiggle. And so that's mystery goo up at flying. And of course, you can get it in space, in water, landed in different areas, and all that good stuff gives you a bunch of different results. So as we kind of sort of gain altitude here, which is kind of amazing.
Yeah.
And at some point, you're going to start tilting down. So you're going to want to hit spacebar when we get to about 2,000 meters, maybe like 23,000 meters just to be safe. And that will activate our parachute, give it a little bit of time to deploy.
Whoa.
And yeah, because he's not a pilot, you don't have stability assistance, so it's quite easy to kind of this crazy death spiral. It's not going to matter too much because your parachute's mounted at the top, so it should orientate itself relatively easily once you deploy that. Get down tonight.
Poor Bob Kerman looks a little worried over there in his corner.
Yeah, they do have pretty ominous expressions. It's gonna be a long, long time to touchdown, bring you back again to find. I'm not Kerbal, just a man. I'm a rocket man.
You got 2,000?
Yeah, about 2,000 or so. I'll shoot the parachute up in the sky, which hopefully deploys. Green zone.
There we go.
And coming down to land. Not quite on the launch pad, but that's okay.
Pretty far from the launch
close.
pad.
We're actually going to be landing in Kerbal Space Center, so
that's a good thing.
That's a good thing. The closer you land to the Space Center, the less it costs to recover your vehicle. So if you land on the North Pole, it's a little bit more expensive to get your vehicle back in career mode.
Understandable.
So that's your first successful flight. So if you mouse up towards the top instrument panel there, it'll give you a little option of recovering your vessel. And it will open a little menu here that shows you the fruits of your labor. That's all the science you've gotten.
Ooh.
You can see all the parts that you've gotten and any kind of experience that the members of the crew have brought back with them. So the more parts you bring back, the more money you get. You can refurbish those parts, and it's pretty self-explanatory, I guess. Later rockets, when you build multi-stage rockets, there'll be parts that you separate and leave behind, so it becomes a little bit more expensive as you get more complicated parts and whatnot. And generally speaking, until you start getting orbit, you don't really make too much experience points for your crew. But you got one experience.
Yay!
I'm not sure where that puts you on that, but that's
puts me at your reputation.
Yeah. So you go ahead and hit done, and you can go to research and development. Spend some science. That's the building towards the bottom there. And this is your research tree. It's pretty self-explanatory. You click on something, and it shows you what parts you'll unlock if you unlock that particular place in the web. The webbity web.
Fuel tank might be good. The thermometers would allow me to probably get more information, right?
Yep, it'll get more science. Shows the cost there too. It's 5 research points, and you have 59.8. So you'll probably be able to get a couple good chunk of these starting technologies.
Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and do that one. Okay.
The Sebastian Bach rocket thumper.
Survivability, that feels important.
Which also gives you the barometer. which
Mm-hmm.
will be more science, and radial parachutes, which are great because it means you can attach parachutes in places besides just the top of an aircraft.
Go ahead and just do. Oh, can't fit all of them. Wah, wah, wah.
Pretty darn close, though.
Yeah. It's a pretty expansive tree. Oh, little tree there.
Yeah, I think it goes all the way up to, I think, 500 science now, so it's a pretty big tree. And you get from things like thermometers all the way up to nuclear rocket engines and all sorts of cool stuff. So I think it's a pretty good place to close her up for now. And successful first launch and first time playing Kerbal. Nothing exploded. No Kerbals were lost on this mission. So
consider that a win.
Generally a win-win. And, perhaps we'll be a little bit more ambitious next time and do something a little bit crazier.
Ooh, and, we'll get crazy.
Terrible things always happen. They have an astronaut training center for a reason. You have to replace those Kerbals that are lost in space or the ocean or vaporized when they plummet towards the Earth. And so we'll pick it up next time, maybe at Kerbal Space Program.
Woo!
I'm Joathen.
And I'm Gracie.
And this is Steel Streams.
Thanks for joining us, guys. Bye.
Later.